Gennady and I, we met in 1995 and we started dating.
We were at two different high schools. I'll be honest, I didn't date boys from his school. I was like, I don't think so. But he was relentless. Our mutual friend called and he said, there's something different about this guy, I really think you should give him a shot. And I was smitten pretty quickly, so.
I remember distinctly one time I was driving in my Jeep down the highway and I saw her pass by. And I just, for some reason, I knew, like, I need to keep trying. We gotta make this work somehow.
I saw his Jeep and I was like, yeah, we definitely should go out because Jeeps are cool. We actually still love Jeeps to this day. It's kind of a little side passion that we have.
We loved each other and we wanted to get married, and so we married in 1999. In 2013, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And my world was rocked because my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. We have 4 kids to take care of. I have a full-time job that I was burning the candle at both ends. And we didn't know what was going to happen. I do remember the way God showed up in that moment, though, because we were in the hospital and the doctor came in and said, the bad news is you have cancer. And that's all I heard. But you hear all these stories of people saying, you know, God spoke to me, and that was a real moment. I heard him say, it's okay. It was called early,
Very
fortunately.
early.
And so she had to go through, you know, multiple surgeries. But thankfully she didn't have any chemo or radiation.
Yeah, I did not have to have chemo. I realized very quickly how important it is to connect with people who have success stories and whatever challenge you're facing. We're supposed to mentor one another through our challenges, and it set us up for just being in a great place when it was time to make the next big decision in 2018, 2019.
As a kid, I'd always had a dream of owning my own business, and I worked for Pella for 15 years. In 2019, I had the opportunity to purchase the business.
He called me one day at lunch and just said, hey, I had a conversation, we're about to buy Pella. And that is actually what happened.
That's the truth.
It is. We were very naive in understanding what this responsibility was.
When I bought the business, I had agreed to stay as the general manager and the owner for a period of 3 years. And looking back on that, that was 3 years too long. I was way more focused on being a business leader than I was a spiritual leader.
Yeah.
And the demands of the business had all my attention. And I was just wanting to make sure the business was okay, our employees were taken care of, we were continuing to grow, and there just wasn't much room left for being the spiritual leader at home. And I was giving the business and the employees access to me 24/7, and my family was getting the leftovers.
It was our hardest year of marriage.
It was.
Because we took our marriage for granted. You think your marriage is going to be there forever, it's unshakable, and you can beat it up pretty bad. That gets very scary, I think, when you realize this is how marriages break. This is how they break. You look up one day and you think, are we friends?
Me joining C12 was what I would say was a pivotal time for me as a leader, because at its core, it's how do you use your business as a ministry, which I always kept my spiritual walk separate from my professional walk. This was a new idea and very intriguing, and I'm around a table with a group of people monthly. They care about my whole person, and there's accountability built in to make sure you're balanced, from not just making sure you're using your business as a ministry and being a good steward of what God has blessed you with, but also that your family's thriving and you're leading your family the way God intended and designed.
And I would say I have seen Ben's spiritual walk since joining C12. It's increased significantly, exponentially. Being in a peer group that challenges you to grow spiritually like that and use your business for it. He, we return to church in person every week consistently. He is studying the Word in a couple of Bible studies. He's implementing Bible studies to his employees here as an option if they need it, or any type of just guidance through our chaplain program. He is challenging our children at home with, you know, how are you, what are you doing? How's your spiritual walk? Like I just saw him almost shift that leadership that he had in the business. He shifted it as a spiritual leader at home on every front.
So me and my executive team, we're in a weekly Bible study, leaning into each other, and we challenge each other to make sure that, how's your home life? You know, this is business, this is just windows and doors, but how's your home life? How are you leading at home? And those are things that I had not focused on prior to C12.
Keeping this connection that God ordained in the beginning tight and strong, and the foundation, that's the foundation of success for everything else. And making sure that everything we do is through that lens of, you know, what would God have us do? What is the goodness that we can bring even out of these challenges? Because something beautiful is always born out of a challenge if you allow it.